Good morning, good morning, good morning, or good day. But I want to talk about something today. Let's talk about it. I want to talk about something because a lot been on my mind, and I want to share my knowledge and my insights of what I see. Because I believe knowledge is in the all-seeing eye. When a person write a book, he has to see in order to visualize, in order to write. He has to see a pencil, pick up a pencil, and then write. So before you write any book, you have to see. So the books you read is because the books you read and the knowledge you gain is someone else's knowledge and insight of what he believes and what he see and his opinion on the world, or his opinion on and perspective on situations. So these is what books bring to the table. These is what books bring to the insight into our brains, and this is what we accumulate far as like ways to live better. We learn through scriptures, we learn through books, we learn through past histories. But I want to share something with you because I was having a little back and forth with a brother of mine, and we was talking about life. We was talking about the world in general. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, we get locked up in scriptures and history and stuff. So we sitting arguing, and I brought this topic like, when was the first sin, and how did man get here, and stuff like that. And we jumped to Genesis. So the reason why I jumped to Genesis because what people don't understand, you got to use your knowledge and research. The Bible was like a history book. It's like a timeline of time events of things that transpired way back before we was living, and it's like historic events that's placed in a book to give us insights. But sometimes you got to use your knowledge to think out the box and to reading what the scripture is saying. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to use your knowledge. Knowledge is not just reading. Knowledge is knowing what you read, identifying what you read, investigate what you read, digging in deep, seeking and finding, and you get a better understanding of what you're reading. So in Genesis, it was talking about, I believe it's in Genesis, the first chapter, Genesis, the 6th chapter, the 25th verse, where it's talking about how God created man. But listen to this. This is before he created Adam and Eve. He said, let us create man and woman in our image. Listen to what I'm saying. Let us create man and woman in our image. So when he say let us, that means he was referring to himself more than one. That means it was more than one. When he said let us create man and woman in our. So our is talking about more than one. It's not just talking about our. He ain't say let me create man in my image. Let me create woman and man in my image. He said let us create man in our image. And he created man and woman. This is after he had created the fishes. He planted the world. He planted the gardens. He made the world livable, So once he created man and woman, they say he rested. The world was perfect. Perfect. He had a rest on the 6th day. He said the world was perfect. On the 7th day, I'm going to rest. I'm going to use this day as a blessing. 6th day was more like a blessed day because everything was perfect. 7th day was the day of resting. Then it came to the chapter where he said, in the 7th chapter, and we read, and then you read closely, he's talking about how he took man from clay and he formed man. So you can get confused, and so you like, so as a man, as a beginner, you can get off guard. You can say, well, how did he create man from clay, if he said in the 6th chapter, let us create man and woman. So how is it that he created man from clay and he took Eve from a rib of a man if he already created a man and a woman? Listen to the steps. He told in the 6th chapter, he said, we created man and woman and we're going to let them spread the world, let them reproduce the world, produce the world, make more of themselves, bring life to the world. That's one step. Then the second step was to breathe life into the man. You get what I'm saying? So when he was talking to Adam, he said, I'm going to breathe life. I'll make Adam. Adam was already created, but Adam didn't have life. Adam didn't know his life. Adam didn't know the knowledge. So he breathed life into Adam. He gave Adam the rules. He gave Adam the jewels. He gave Adam the knowing. He gave Adam the knowing the rules of life and rules of this and that. He gave Adam the ability to create. Say, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. He gave Adam the rules. That's the difference between bringing life to a man that was once in the dust, who didn't know what he was doing, who was living day by day, living in the trees, living in the woods, living in the forest, and trying to survive, not knowing why you're here, but till you got someone higher and gave you life to understand who you are as a man, to give you knowledge to build, to give you knowledge to do more than what you was doing. So Adam had these tools. Then Eve had these tools too. So I got in back and forth with my man. We was talking like, so how did the first sin get here? So I had to explain to him. Okay, I say, because a lot of people say, yeah, it was a woman who brought the sin, and in a way you could say that, but then it was both who brought the sin first to the earth. So I'm gonna explain to you. So when God created man, he gave man the rules. He told Adam, you go eat upon this tree, you can eat upon this garden, but do not go into the garden of Eden, do not touch the fruit of life of knowing good and evil. So Adam knew the rules. He knew what not to do and what to do. He had all power to know these things. So when God gave him a woman who's short of understanding, who's new to this, a man's job is to lead and guide and teach and show the way. You feel me? So when Eve came, she was tempted, she was manipulated, she was deceived into biting into a tree of life. The fruit is represent different parts of life in which you didn't know, different knowledges of life in which you didn't know. You know, so what Eve did, she been into a different knowledge, a different knowing, a different seeing things of life in which she wasn't supposed to see. You know, and by her seeing these things, she opened her eyes to new ways of living her life. And because of that, she deceived Adam into doing the same, manipulate Adam into biting into the fruits of life in which he already knew not to bite into. So when God found out about these things, he was upset. He cursed Eve. He said, you will bleed every 30 days. You will bear a child 9 months. You know, he told man, y'all would not live eternity. I feel like he was more upset with Adam because he gave Adam the rules of life. Even if your woman was tempted, even if your woman was going through these situations, your job is to be strong and show her the way. But it's because of him being weak. And that goes in Proverbs, and where it says, don't give your strength to a woman. And at that time, Adam gave to his strength to a woman. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, you know, I believe Jesus came in the New Testament where he was a correction of what a man's supposed to be. Follow these rules and be obedient. Because Adam was the first, but he didn't follow the rules. He wasn't obedient to the word. If y'all notice, after the word, we rarely hear anything about Adam and Eve in the Bible. You know, new names came about in the scripture that made Adam and Eve feel less in the scripture. But the truth is, if it wasn't for these Adam and Eves, none the scripture would be about. If it wasn't for Eve biting into the fruit, we would have never had Cain and Abel, two different bloodlines fight amongst each other. Yeah, two different bloodlines fighting amongst each other. So people don't understand, when Eve bit into the fruit, she wasn't just biting into the fruit, she was biting into sin. She was biting to fornication. She was biting into deception. And because of that, she had her a child, she bare a child, Cain. And Cain came, you feel? When Cain came, he was a different bloodline from Adam. Abel was from the bloodline of Adam. So you got a woman who buried two childs, but two different bloodlines. So two different bloodlines with two different personalities ain't gonna see things eye to eye. You understand? They ain't gonna see things they ain't gonna see things like a family or a bloodline family, or a family that came from one bloodline supposed to see things. They see things from different perspectives. You know what I'm saying? This child see things from the snake's perspective. This child see things from God's perspective, from the righteous perspective. So that was the first mark of sin coming into the world, and from that, sin produced and sin spread out in the world. But that's what it says in Scripture. So we had a debate about this topic. And me, I'm a man who think out the box. I'm a man who like to think out the box. I like to venture out of things because that's what I believe knowledge is. That's how you gain knowledge. Walking on the straight path is good. But sometimes people walk like robots. Or a smart robot is more like iRobot. You ever see that movie with Will Smith? Where a man created robots, and he was creating these robots to do everything according to how he produced them and made them to do. But it took one special robot to move out the line and think out the box, and he made them special. It made that robot special, and he opened the eyes of the rest of the robots. That's how I look at me in my situation. So what I'm about to do, I'm about to open up the eyes a little bit to the rest of the robots. Because a book sometimes can give you a life that's true, and sometimes can make you see life as false. And sometimes a book can guide you into living robotically, you know. So when you think out the box, it's like it says in the word, Jesus says the eyes is the light of the lamp. So I use my eyes to gain knowledge, and with my eyes I try to research of past events, and I use future events, and I compare the two together, and that's how I feel I gather my knowledge. So I'll say this, I told my man, I said, okay, how did we get to planet Earth? Did God make us from clay? Did he make all these different races out of one man named Adam? You know, we got Asian people with Asian eyes, you got Indian people, Caucasian people, black people, different people from different walks of life that just look different. So you tell me all these people came from one man? He said, yes, all these people came from one man. And you know, I told him like Adams could be first Adam from a white race, and Adam could be a first Adam for a black race, Indian race, Asian race. But all these is Adams, all these people was the first from different races, but they all was Adams, just like females, different colored females, they all was Eves, you feel me? So it wasn't just one man. Where it says in the word, he says, we made man and woman in our image and let them spread and produce the word. So there was more than one man. So I had to jump back to the way we live in. I said, look at the earth. Look how the people was living on earth. We done came from you know, dinosaurs to the ice ages, and to the western ages, and to all these wars, and you know, not having technology to inventing things, and you know, riding bikes, and building airplanes, and building cars, and you know, transforming our way of living into a technological way of living. And but sometimes you ask yourself, like, what's the purpose of this? What's the purpose? And now we in a timeline where we're going to Mars, an empty planet. Nothing there. It's bare. It's an empty space. So I say to myself, I'm looking at the Bible. I'm looking at the beginning of Genesis. How God created the man. He created the sea, the water. He put the trees. He made life. And then once life was planted on that planet, he said, now it's time to make man in our image and spread the planet with life. All these things is blueprint. All these things is levels. Before a man build anything, before you create anything, you got to have a blueprint. You got to have an insight. You got to know what you about to build. You got to know what you about to do. You just can't freestyle and do that. You just can't freestyle and land on the planet. You got to have a guideline. You got to have a blueprint. So what people don't understand, you read the Bible is good knowledge, but trust me, believe me, it's not the blueprint of humanity. See, when we go to Mars with steps. Just like first we gonna plant it. First we see if it's livable. Then we gotta test and see if it's life. If life can withstand on Mars. Then we gotta figure out ways to put water on Mars, put oxygen on Mars, make it more livable for us. Then we start to plant Mars with trees. Then we start to find different ways to build Mars into the way where we can adapt. Then once Mars become more livable, then we can start planting human beings on Mars. We can send human beings on Mars. Let them populate Mars, spread on Mars, evolve on Mars. And then once they evolve on Mars, then we can build Mars with more technology, more knowledge. Spreading new life in Mars. Steps, stones. Earth, same structure. Just like Mars. Beginning process. You say, so what you mean? Okay, I'm gonna give you a little example. I don't know if y'all know about the Amazonians. The Amazonian people, where they live in Amazons, and they don't know no technology. They don't know nothing. They don't wear clothes. They just swing with bow and arrows. All they know is nature. All they know is life. They live like animals. They adapt to the way they live. So if I'm a man who wanna buy something, wanna buy a planet, I say, first I'm gonna use levels. I'm gonna have a blueprint. I'm gonna have life. I'm gonna think out the box. I'm gonna have steps to this. I'm gonna put, like I say, plants, water, life, fishes. I'm gonna bring all these things to Mars. And then once I bring that, I gotta bring people. People to survive on Mars, to see how they adapt to Mars and the climate. So I'm gonna bring people who can survive. Where I get these people from? I'm gonna go to the people like, I'm look for people like the Amazonians. People that don't have no knowledge. I gather and get a bunch of those people. And instead of back in the days, they used to test monkeys. They used to put monkeys in rockets and take them to space and stuff. But now we at an age now where we can use people. So I use those type of people to see how they survive, see how they live in climates. And once I figure that out, once that step is succeeded, then it's time to evolve and put the more knowledgeable people, put someone with life in there that can spread knowledge and research and give knowledge to the people so they can build and grow on planet Mars. So I broke this down to my man. We having a debate. He like, so I'm trying to get him to understand. I don't know if someone out there understand what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I'm speaking in big words, or if I don't know if my words is twisted up, but I'm trying to get people to understand. It's levels. There's a lot of people be talking about, oh, God gonna come from the sky. God gonna come from the sky. I believe in a higher power. I believe in someone greater. But the thing that's gonna hurt American humanity is not God. It's stuff like the comets, you know what I'm saying? Nature, climate change, and overpopulation, people doing wrong to each other. That's the thing that kills humanity. But not God. So what humanity have to do, we have to find ways to change, find ways to adapt, find ways to live through these events, through tornadoes, or through big comics that come in that's big enough to kill humanity, like a comic killed dinosaurs. Back in the days they didn't have satellites. They didn't in Jesus' time they didn't have satellites. They didn't have the technology we had. They was the first people, the first race. They was it's levels to this, levels to life. But they was the first race. They didn't have technology. They were just living and figuring out ways to survive. When they see a climate, they see a star, they see something that was strange, they looked at it and thought it was otherworldly. It was God, it was different from planet, but really it was nature doing things that they didn't know, they didn't have no explanation of. Floods, when snow, when great storms came, it was all God. They didn't know if it was nature, tornadoes. They thought it was God, but it was all nature. When such as pregnancy events back then, when babies was being born white as snow. You got African babies being born white as snow. And a lot of people see a white baby, and all the rest of the Africans is dark as night. They like, this baby is from a God. He's special, but not knowing the baby is got a genetic disorder. It's called albino, albinism. He's an albino, but it had no name back then. They thought everything was like a label, like it was God-like. So the more time progressed, and the more knowledge we accumulate, we start to get these names and start to identify what the tornado is, or what albino is, or what ways we can prevent a comet from coming. We gotta make satellites so we can see these things. Back then we didn't see these things. You know how many? Just imagine races of people that was living amongst us that we probably didn't even know about. Like, we see black, white, Asian, and Indian, and all these races, but just imagine the races of people that we probably don't even know about. They got caught up in the flood. Back then we ain't had no satellite. We ain't had no satellite, so it was races of people that's probably underneath our ocean, like parts of our planet that we ain't discovered, that's probably underneath the ocean, that's trapped. I'm talking about parts of the planet that got so much of our ancestor and history that's been here from the beginning of us coming to the planet. I believe that. I believe it's a stepping stone. You pick people on the planet that can figure out ways to survive, and maybe those people that were surviving, they had no technology when they came to planet Earth. When they came to planet Earth, it wasn't no technology, it was just survival mode. How can we survive through these climates? And once we went through that level, we start getting more help from the gods. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people say, what is the gods? I want to break down something else to you. Gods is something you can identify, but it's bigger and different and do great things and make you wonder. That's a God to me. Something you don't see, but you know it's there. But it's this thing that people talk about a lot. They say, what is this thing? What is the UFO we see, but we don't know about? What is that? What is that? Can you give me an explanation of what is a UFO? We all trying to know. Even, I ain't gonna lie to you, even me, myself, I would like to know. But I think I'm gonna try to break down my opinion of it. I'm gonna try to give you a little explanation of what I think or what I believe, of what I'm suggesting. Okay. Say you got some workers. Say you got a man who bought a warehouse. He found the warehouse. First, he found the foundation of the warehouse. Then, once he found the foundation was good, he had a blueprint on how to build the warehouse. He built the warehouse. He built parts of the warehouse. So, he had a blueprint on how he wanted this warehouse to run, how to build rooms in the warehouse. And then, once he built the rooms and the warehouse is built, he started paying the workers in the warehouse to work the warehouse. Then once the workers in the warehouse filled the warehouse up with whatever the warehouse needed, he started adding more goods into the warehouse, add goods into the warehouse to make the warehouse what it's really about. Then once the goods in the warehouse and the workers in the warehouse and they working with the goods, then he can start distributing the goods. Now the warehouse is in business. So I look at the earth as the warehouse. So a lot of people don't understand it's someone who owns the warehouse. Yeah, someone who owns the warehouse. And every one of us, no matter, I don't care if you're rich, I don't care if you're a celebrity, I don't care if you're Bill Gates or Elon Musk or Donald Trump, whatever, we all workers in this warehouse. But it's the owner of the warehouse who always watching over the warehouse, who give the warehouse what the warehouse need in order for the warehouse to evolve. Every now and then, he may send someone in power to go check on the warehouse, to see the warehouse. People don't really know who it is. They don't. If you notice in the warehouses, sometimes I use that example, or a lot of businesses, you never have a one-on-one conversation with the owner. You always have a conversation with the leads and the supervisors, never with the CEO. Rarely you, as a worker, you see the CEO because he's too busy in other places doing bigger things. So when they talk about UFOs, I look at the UFOs as workers. What is man trying to do right now? We're building robots, AI robots, that can do things, that can operate and move the way we want them to move. It's gonna come a time where robots can move like people, and they're gonna put scan on robots. They can put whatever scan they want to put on robots and let them operate. But man got control of these robots. So when I see these UFOs, a lot of people say, damn, these robots look like this. They got big eyes and big heads and stuff like that. Who's to say these robots ain't AIs operating the ship? They can do great things with these ships. An AI can create if you got an AI spaceship and you an AI robot and an AI, and y'all both connected as one, therefore you can move as one. You can do great things as one, because it's AI. So this technology that we don't understand, been around from the beginning of when man came to the planet. It's a creation. God said we create man in our image. So everything is levels. What we doing is what God wanted us to do, what our creator, the person who sent us to this earth wanted us to do. But it's how we do it. It's the way we do it. It's the controls, the choices we make when we doing these things. That's see, a lot of times people say, God know what we gonna do before we do it. Put like this. It's like a father who know his child, who know what he brought to the table. He know if his child go this way, he know what the result gonna be. He know if his child go this way, he know what the result gonna be, because that's wisdom and understanding of a man knowing his child. Either way, he gonna know the result. He gonna know the outcome. So yeah, I know what's gonna happen before it happen, but I don't know your choices. It's up to you to make the choice. See, that's where we at as humanity, where God know what's gonna happen. He know if our choices is good, this way can happen. He know if our choices is bad, this way can happen. This is what our Creator does to us. Is everything is mapped, everything is written down. Just like a supervisor walking in a warehouse and seeing his warehouse and seeing what's wrong and seeing what's right. He knowing what's going on. His technology is great. He see all things. So our choices is the outcome of humanity. We build these atomic bombs, we build these missiles, we build these the technology that destroy humanity, where we can use our mind to build technology to do great things. We too busy on building technology to destroy, where we could have built something that went at the ocean already. We could have went to Saturn. We could have went to the moon. We could have lived on Mars, but we too busy finding ways to destroy. If we focus on destruction, we can't focus on production. We just got to make different choices as humanity. What you think?